The cruelest thing time ever did to me was whisper, "Not yet." My name is Walter Green, and I'm 81 years old. Most of my life, I believed there would always be another chance. I was born in 1944, outside Dayton, Ohio. My father worked at a tool factory, and my mother kept the house running with very little money and a whole lot of grit. We were like a lot of families back then, tired, proud, busy surviving. My earliest memories are of screen doors slamming, my mother humming in the kitchen, and my father coming home with metal dust in the lines of his hands. When I was a boy, old people used to tell me not to rush my life. Funny thing is, nobody ever warns you that life will rush you. One day you're 10 years old, skinning your knee in the backyard, and the next you're 23, married, working overtime, trying to make rent and buy diapers. I met my wife June at a church picnic in 1965. She had this way of listening that made you feel like your words mattered. She just listened with her whole face. I loved her for that before I even understood that's what I was feeling. We got married young because I couldn't stand the thought of building a life that didn't have her in it. We had 2 children, a boy and then a girl. I worked at the plant, and I told myself every long day, every missed dinner, every Saturday shift was for them. That was the story I repeated so often, it became something like prayer. I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing this for my family. I thought love could wait until after work slowed down. I thought my son would understand why I missed his ball games. I thought my daughter would forgive me for being too tired to sit on the edge of her bed and hear about school. I thought June and I would have time later for all the talking we didn't do, all the little trips we kept pushing off, all the evenings we spent in the same house, but not really together. Later was my favorite word. Later, when the bills ease up. Later, when the kids are older. Later, when I get that promotion. Later, when life calms down. Life never calms down. It just changes shape. My son, David, stopped asking if I'd come to his games when he was about 12. He'd stand in the hallway with his glove hanging from 2 fingers, and he'd say, "It's okay, Dad. I know you're busy." I can still hear that boy trying to make it easier on me. That should have broken my heart right then. Instead, I let it comfort me. That's the shame of it. I took his understanding like it was permission. My daughter Emily was different. She got quiet when she was hurt. Just distance. One night she came into the den with a drawing she'd made at school. It was our house, our dog, her mother, David, and a stick figure way off to the side in a square building with smoke coming out. That was me at the plant. I laughed when I saw it. Told her she was a clever little thing. June didn't laugh. She looked at me for one long second, and even then, with the truth right there in crayon, I said to myself, one day they'll understand. June tried. Lord, she tried. Not with speeches. She wasn't dramatic. She'd say things plain. "Walter, they're growing up." Or, "You don't get these years back." And I'd kiss her forehead, tell her I knew, tell her next month would be better. I said next month so many times it started to sound respectable. Then my mother got sick. Stroke. Fast and cruel. One week she was hanging wash in the yard, and the next she couldn't button her own blouse. I remember standing in her hospital room and realizing how quickly a person can become fragile. She died 8 months later. After the funeral, I promised myself I would slow down, be home more, pay attention. I meant it too. That's what makes this harder to admit. I meant it. I just didn't do it. A year passed, then 3, then 7. Promotions came. Gray hair came. The children left home one by one. David went to Indiana. Emily moved to North Carolina after college. June and I finally had the quiet house we used to say we wanted, and by then the quiet had teeth. We sat across from each other at dinner like two people who had shared a life but misplaced the language for it. Too many nights were spent talking about groceries, weather, insurance, anything but the places where the years had bruised us. Then June found a lump. There are sounds your body makes when your life changes. The way silence lands between two people driving home after bad news. She had surgery first, then treatments. She lost weight, lost strength, lost that easy light in her eyes for a while. But not her kindness, never that. One afternoon, sitting in the living room with a blanket over her legs, she looked at me and said, "We really thought we had forever, didn't we?" Not accusing, not angry, just tired, honest. I wanted to tell her no, not me. I knew better. But that would have been another lie. So I said, "Yeah, I think I did." She nodded like I'd finally answered a question she'd been asking for 20 years. We got 3 more years. Not good years all the way through, but real ones. Tender ones. I retired. I drove her to appointments. I learned how she liked her tea when her stomach was upset. We sat on the porch in the evenings and spoke more truth in those 3 years than we had in the 15 before. I apologized for things I should have apologized for long ago. She forgave me in that quiet way she had. No performance, just grace. Sometimes forgiveness is not a bright, shining thing. Sometimes it's just somebody staying soft toward you when they have every reason not to. June died in November. Cold morning, bare trees. My son got there in time, my daughter too. I was holding her hand when she went, and the room felt so still I could hear the heat clicking in the walls. After nearly 50 years together, all I could think was how ordinary the room looked for a moment that split my life in two. Grief is a strange house. You think you're learning the rooms, then a door opens where there wasn't one before. For a while, I kept reaching for things to tell her. A funny license plate, the smell of rain, a memory about the kids. Then I'd remember. That remembering never felt dramatic. It felt stupid and sharp, like missing a step in the dark. The real turning point came 2 years later, when David brought his teenage son to visit. My grandson was tall already, shoulders widening, voice changing. We were sitting in the yard, and he was talking about wanting to quit baseball. Said he wasn't sure he loved it anymore. I almost told him to stick it out, that commitment mattered, all the usual old man words. Then I saw David watching him, really watching him, giving him his full face the way June used to give me. And I knew, all at once, what had been missing from so much of my life. Not love, presence. I had loved my family fiercely. I just kept handing them my leftovers. That night I cried harder than I did at the funeral, because I finally understood the lie. It wasn't just that I thought I had more time. It was that I thought time was something saved up later, like money in a jar. But time is not savings. Time is spending. You are always spending it. The only question is what you're buying with it. These days, I move slower. I talk less. I call my children more often than they probably need. I ask another question before hanging up. I let people finish. I sit with things. I go to church, not because I think I've earned anything, but because I need somewhere to place the love and sorrow that don't fit neatly inside me. I keep June's coffee mug in the cabinet, even though nobody uses it. You're still allowed foolish things. If you're listening to me and there's somebody you've been meaning to call, somebody you've been planning to forgive, or some small joy you've been postponing until life gets easier, I hope you don't do what I did for so many years. Don't make later your favorite word. Later has a way of turning into never, and never is a hard thing to hold in old hands.